Republican fundraiser pretty provocative.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
It's kind of the worst of the weather days, isn't it? When it's 37, 38, raining, it's like you want it to snow or get off the pot. Remember the phrase? Sort of, it's just, ugh. But we made it through the Monday, or you did. I'm guessing you did since you're watching the show. You know, we record the program each afternoon around 1-ish. Just a little tidbit if you didn't know that already. Glad to have you aboard. Thanks for checking in with us. The Honorable Chairperson of the Republican Party, Cienki, is here. I hope she brought her helmet because we're gonna have ourselves a knockdown drag out. I wouldn't miss this for the world. I mentioned on Thursday or whenever I bumped into this fundraiser solicitation that they put out that this was as bait and switchishness as I've seen in local politics in a long time, and she's, to her credit, here to defend that, I think. So we'll discuss that momentarily. In the meantime, I just wanted to put this headline up. I saw this in the Providence Journal today, and I thought, well, I don't know. You know, as a guy who's pro-life myself, I understand the complications of the politics around the abortion issue, and most people, you know, prey on it and want it to go away. But principle stands are fine. The Right to Life organization, which I think has been shaky in its efforts for a long time and strategically kind of discoordinated, has once again done something interesting. They're going to put up signs in the district for Senate President Dominic Ruggiero and Speaker of the House Nick Mattiello as we head into this 2020 election cycle. With the signs are going to say anything but, or anybody but Ruggiero, anybody but Mattiello. And the reason they're doing that is because of what went down with this abortion rights whack that the legislature gave us this last year. The codification of the abortion language was very controversial, no doubt. And what was interesting was that both the Speaker and the Senate President voted against the legislation, but allowed it to go through because of the demand for the debate. So you could say they had their cake and eat it too, but I will tell you, I did chide both of the leaders in one sense, because I would like to see that they took that mindset all the time, which is, I don't like something, but I'm going to put it on the floor for debate. The local Republican Party would love that, because stuff gets just stopped at the doorstep of the leadership of the chambers because they don't like it. Well, they didn't like this because they were pro-life, but the pressure was too large not to put it up. Do you follow that? So I don't know. This is just another one of those kind of Keystone Cop efforts on the part of the Rhode Island the Rhode Island Right to Life organization. I'll be interested to see what the chairperson says about that when we get to some other issues, if we both recover from the debate that we're going to have coming up here momentarily. In the meantime, the president says, you know, he might talk. Oh, can you imagine the classic? Could you imagine Trump stepping up and testifying himself in front of this impeachment inquiry? Here's the latest from the weekend.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says President Trump can testify before Congress if he believes the House impeachment hearings are unfair.
The president could come right before the committee and speak all the truth that he wants if he wants to take the oath of office. He has every opportunity to present his case.
Speaking on CBS's Face the Nation, Pelosi also said the president made a mistake when he attacked former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Marie Yovanovitch on Twitter as she was testifying at Friday's impeachment inquiry hearings.
The words of the president weigh a ton. They are very significant, and he should not frivolously throw out insults.
Republican Congressman Mike Turner defended the president's controversial tweet.
It's certainly not impeachable, and it's certainly not criminal, and it's certainly not witness intimidation. It certainly wasn't trying to prevent her, or would it have prevented her from testifying? She was actually in the process of testifying.
European Union Ambassador Gordon Sondland is scheduled to testify this week. Friday, an aide to the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine testified he overheard a loud phone call between Sondland and President Trump. David Holmes testified the president asked Sondland if Ukrainian President Zelensky is, quote, gonna do the investigation. Sondland replied he's gonna do it.
We'll see how his testimony plays out. What I also know is he said there was never any quid pro quo.
President Trump says he doesn't remember the overheard call with Sondland.
Yeah, okay. All right then. So we'll see how that goes. This is going to be a very busy week for impeachment testimony. The ratings, because that's all we worry about, right? The ratings were a little less for last week's stuff than other pivotal stuff like the Kavanaugh hearing. But there's going to be a steady grind of millions of people watching these proceedings over the course of even near the holidays. In the meantime, Louisiana governor wins re-election. He's a conservative Democrat. But Donald Trump made him out to be a socialist. Great move, President. And that's now 2 states in a row in the last couple of weeks that he's taken a thumping on as he's been down there barnstorming for candidates. Not a good trend. In the meantime, he's under a lot of heat, and so you need to step up. Here is what caught my attention last week, and I just looked at this and said, you've got to be kidding me. President Trump needs our help to continue making America great again. Liberals know they cannot beat Trump in 2020, so the deep state, love that, is working overtime to undo his legacy. That's why they launched the impeachment scam. Democrats want to take away your voice by removing President Trump. Don't let them win. Could you let President Trump know that Rhode Island has his back with a generous donation of $10, $25, $50, or another amount right away? Thank you for helping us defend the president against the deep state impeachment scam. That is an email from the chairperson of the state Republican Party. Welcome.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on again.
What is that?
So, first of all, there are 2 campaign finance accounts that we have in Rhode Island. One is for the Rhode Island GOP. The second account is a federal account. The Trump campaign is not opening up an office in Rhode Island. They are using our assets. In order to use our assets, there's overhead, there's paper, there's communication strategy. We need to be able to cover that, or their campaign needs to cover that. So all of this money that we're raising, or that's raised for a MAGA event, anything that has to do for Donald Trump goes directly to our federal account. It's all being used to cover their overhead, anything that they do, and to help that campaign. Anything federally.
Well, you don't say that.
But that's exactly where it's going.
But when the click-through comes, it's just state Republican Party.
Sure.
There's no distinction between.
Sure, but all that money goes directly to it. And in fact, what the Republicans on a national level have done is they've started this response to Act Blue. They've started this thing called Win Red. So that's going to come onto our website and all of our things, that the Win Red, where people from all across the country can donate to Republican candidates within the state, to any federal candidates. It's in direct response to what the Democrats and the progressives have done with Act Blue.
So you're going to have a separate Win Red account as well?
Separate Win Red account too. But right now we just have the 2 separate accounts. We have the federal account, we have the state account.
So what happens with the money that goes into the federal account?
It has to be used specifically for any federal candidates. So if the president, any senator, if we had someone running against.
Here, spent directly here, or you can transfer money from it to another account, a national account, the president's re-election campaign,
it is
for
used for specifically for federal. We have to abide by federal election, the FEC regulations. So they have specific regulations, just like Rhode Island campaign finance and the Board of Elections. We can only spend money for specific things. The federal account has to be used to promote federal candidates.
So you're going to generate production and content for President Trump's re-election in this state and run it yourself and buy Channel 12 and Fox News?
We're running it out of the state GOP headquarters. There are some states, and I would imagine that they're battleground states, that they open up separate Trump re-election campaign.
But you're going to have to
offices.
focus on using that money on the president's behalf?
Well, they focus it to get signs, Trump re-election signs. The campaign's not giving us that. So if people in the state of Rhode Island want Trump merchandise, they want hats, they want bumper stickers, that's all got to come out of the federal account in Rhode Island.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the still misleading message. Stay with us.
Thoughts on the idea that the president has 3 candidates now that he's looking at least if they stay in the race? Do you see any of those 3 as formidable candidates in this state?
Again, Dan, all I want to say is my job as the chair of the Rhode Island Republican Party is to get people elected to the state house. What happens on a national level will happen on a national level, but my focus is to get members elected to the General Assembly. Because despite of what happens nationally, I want everybody to look at what's happening in Rhode Island. And 80 years of Democratic control in this state has created a mess. So that is my focus. What happens nationally happens nationally.
That is the answer that you have consistently given me.
Yes, and it's the
I'm
answer.
only playing it for you.
Yeah.
It's not usual that I play my guest saying something else somewhere, but that has been your consistent message.
That is my consistent
So you have
message.
to understand that when I or anybody else read this fundraiser, and if you can put it back up, Kev, that'd be great, to see that this is without explanation of what kind of accounts or what obligations you have. This ad is misleading in the sense that anybody who's not paying attention to the nuances, which is 90% of the public, would think that this is actually almost a legal defense solicitation. It's not, but it feels that way. Don't you agree?
No, I'd say it's to get people that are interested in voting for President Trump to actually fund. Politics.
Democrats want to take away your voice
Right.
by removing President Trump. Don't let them win. Could you let the president know that you've got his back with a generous donation? Thank you for helping us defend the president against the deep state impeachment scam. That's not, he needs some hats for re-election. That's, oh boy, yes, let me step up and send. I promise you, there are, by the way, how's this gone? How much money have you raised?
I don't know. I don't know how much money we've raised. No, I really don't.
How do you put your name on these things and come to the show and not know that detail?
Yeah, it would probably be under $1,000 we've raised for this.
Well, somebody, I'm sure, sent, oh my gosh, I want to defend President Trump against this assault. I'm going to send $50 in and I'm going to da-da-da-da-da. And that is money solicited with a message that is not true to its end.
No, it's a message to help the president get reelected. That's what, it is a message to help the president get reelected. Yes.
Where's
Absolutely.
that anywhere in the
Absolutely.
ad? There is the term reelection's not in there, not once.
Dan, come on.
What do you mean, come on?
Any solicitation now with impeachment and President Trump, it's all about what's going on at the national level. But really, this is really about what is happening on the national level. Are you interested in helping the president in any way, shape, and form? He is going to be on the ballot, as far as I know. The signatures come in January. This may be a different conversation if he doesn't make the ballot in Rhode Island. But quite frankly, I think he's going to be the Republican nominee.
All right. Well, I think your argument is as weak gets. It is. This is a bait and switch. This is a false premise. It doesn't talk about re-election. That you've explained to me the difference between local and federal account. I will give you a pass on that one.
And quite frankly, the impeachment, that is what is in the news right now. So the Trump campaign, the 2 individuals, Jerry Zarella and Doreen, they are using my office. They are making phone calls.
They're chair people of the Trump re-election.
They are the chair people of the Trump
Oh,
re-election
believe me, I'll
campaign.
have them in for the mantra. In
And
fact, we
quite
should do that.
frankly-
We should do that.
Yeah, and quite frankly, if the impeachment inquiry is in the news, they have got to put a communication strategy together to combat what's happening, to talk about what's happening. And that is money raised for this. That is absolutely, it's not only bumper stickers.
In lieu of that, you are the chairperson of this party.
Right.
You put your name on this solicitation. Let me ask you, do you believe the deep state is working overtime to undo his legacy?
Well,
It's your name's on it.
That's my name is on it. And what I have said to you and other members of the media, when people talk about impeachment, I said, go ahead. let's go through the process, because I believe in the process, but make sure the process is fair, make sure everything is happening in accordance with the rules and how it's laid out in the Constitution. It's something I absolutely believe in, but this solicitation, the Trump campaign has to be able to have a strategy to talk about what's happening.
You are immersed in the internal stuff of your gig. This is what your name is on. Do you believe that the president is fighting against what's you call a deep state impeachment scam? Yes or no?
So absolutely, that it has to be brought to bear what is happening. Because really, when I was watching the impeachment process,
So I'm asking you a question.
I am.
Do you
And what
refer
did I
to the
say?
intelligence community and the State Department as the deep state? Yes or no?
Let's talk about the intelligence community, the IRS, what has happened over the past.
How come you can't answer the
tell me.
question yes or no?
I'm answering the question.
Well, I will hear you. I'm happy to have you elaborate. Answer the question, please.
I am.
Is the intelligence community and the State Department the deep state?
I'm not going to say the entire intelligence community. I'm not going to give them a generalized that they're all bad people. Much like I would never
I'm
say.
talking about the term deep state.
Deep state.
Do you
I am
believe
saying
that term is an accurate portrayal of our intel and State Department community?
Let me tell you, I believe that there are individuals within those communities. There are individuals within those communities from the moment that President Trump was elected were out to take him out.
I'm going
so
to
that
ask
there
you
are
again.
individuals.
Do you
keep
refer
asking
to
me.
it? But
I don't specifically
But so
refer
your name
to,
is on a flyer that refers to the term twice. Don't you understand?
Yeah, and I'm saying that flyer and that solicitation was to make sure that the Trump campaign had a communication strategy. And part of that communication strategy, oh, Dan, don't hold your head. That's my answer.
You'd be better off saying, hey, listen, this is form stuff and I passed it through. Yeah, because that's what it is. You didn't write this, right? This is the stuff they send you. There's probably 50 local of these on local chairperson, on state chairperson emails.
I am sure that every state.
That would be a better answer.
Well, I am sure that every state. I am sure that every state. Let me tell you.
Why don't you just say, you know what, this one got by me. These aren't my words. I shuffled this into a federal election account. I'm doing my thing. I just want to focus on the local stuff. And next time, next time, maybe I won't put my name on this kind of misleading solicitation. Isn't that the answer you should be giving me?
No, I don't think it's misleading.
You want to pay me for my consultation to you on how to defend my interview with you?
No, and I also think that every state is dealing with the Trump campaign and getting these solicitations to help pay for his re-election campaign within each one of those states. And that's all that this is. This is really get people talking about it, get people paying attention. As you said,
So the summary on this is you won't, in person, you won't use the term deep state, even though under your email, your name, you put out a communication that says it twice.
I don't believe you should categorize any group as evil and bad. I really don't.
Is deep state evil?
Well, I just think that to categorize a whole group of people as
Did you know that this thing went out?
Did I know it went out? Yes.
Under your thing. Did you hit the send button?
No.
But you were, did you, when this came through, did you approve this?
So I knew it was going out, yes.
You didn't have a qualm? I mean, you were, for the last 5 minutes, you've done nothing but struggle over that term, deep state.
No, I'm not
and
struggling
you let it go
over
under
it.
your name
Again, it's
twice.
not something that I personally would do, but as
your
chair,
name is
but as chair of the Republican Party, I have obligations to make sure that a Republican presidential candidate is reelected. That's part of the job, even though it's not my focus. My focus is to get people elected to the General Assembly.
When we come back, we'll follow up on what the repercussions of this and maybe hit a couple of issues. Stay with us. So, for instance, i.e., GOP files ethics complaint against Raimondo in casino spat. You and I have talked about this at length. One of the things that you see your mission as chairperson of the State Republican Party is to be a watchdog.
Yes, sir.
Self-stated.
Yes, sir.
You've whacked Raimondo. You guys under former leadership, Brandon Bell, were the initiators of an ethics filing on the Mattiello re-election deal that has resulted in the indictment of at least one of his paid consultants. You have, and the party has, in the last 3 or 4 years, really become energized in filing complaints, and sometimes they're on technicalities. What you did with Dan McKee, that was a technicality.
Right.
But you got the headlines, ethics, ethics. Your release here is full of what could be a technical violation of intent of message. Anybody who brings this to the Board of Elections in a complaint could say, you know what, they may argue about accounts, and they can say it's a pass-through thing, but they are doing a solicitation for a defense for Donald Trump, and it's not clear, and it may or may not make the day, but my point is, it's on the edge, it's on the nuance, and you guys have been complete full-court press watchdog agents. Don't you understand that this thing is as bad or worse than anything that you filed a complaint on in the last couple of years?
No, I'm going to disagree with you on that. And again, this is a federal issue. This is a federal FEC. So go ahead. If you think that we've done something wrong, go ahead and file something with the FEC.
I'm not going to file
not,
I don't
yeah,
file
I know, but go
complaints.
ahead, Dan. You know,
But somebody could or maybe should.
I don't threaten. You know, when we find something ethics, you know, and
what do you mean you don't threaten?
We,
you do a lot of pre-chatter before you file something.
No, but we do it. We follow through.
Not always. You have to do your. There are things you comment on and don't. There are things you comment on and don't file on.
And after you do your due diligence, you just say. I know you don't like President Trump.
No, don't start with me on that.
No,
That's got nothing to do with this.
And this was.
You know who I'm protecting in this is the person who does support President Trump, who sends money in to support President Trump in this legal defense area, and it ends up buying a MAGA hat.
No.
That's what I'm concerned about. And I'm concerned that you can't put your name on the concept of deep state, yet you publish this.
Yeah, so this solicitation was to get people talking about the impeachment. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it?
They're doing that.
Do you agree with it?
This didn't start, this
really?
didn't accelerate that.
Because I don't even know if the ratings are that good. Are people actually watching it? I mean, it looked like a game of telephone to me. You know, what did you hear? Well, I didn't hear. I wasn't there. I didn't listen to the telephone conversation.
So now you're doing analysis on the actual
impeachment. Yeah, I'm doing an analysis. But this was. You're interested in the impeachment or not?
This is pot calling kettle black.
No,
you got to clean your act
agree with you.
up on this stuff. You can't pass this stuff through like this without you can't even put your verbal assignment to the terms that your name was on when you sent this thing out. That's not good business. But I do appreciate coming in for the battle, and there will be things that we will get into.
We can agree
shortly.
to disagree.
Yes, on this one, no doubt. Thank you. You figure it out. You decide. Final word when we come back. I hope you get what I'm saying. Listen, you want to contribute to Donald Trump's legal defense or something like that, you know, find a way to do it. Just know that this solicitation ain't going to do it. And if you don't call it the deep state, you may want to read this thing twice. Sounds like they've raised a ton of money on it anyway. Sometimes it's the principle. More on impeachment all week long. And on the radio at 3 until 6 on WPR tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.